China has tried to position itself as a potential peace broker in the war, especially after issuing a 12-point peace plan for Ukraine in February. The plan was unveiled by Beijing on the first anniversary of the Russian invasion, which China has not condemned or described as such. Instead, China has blamed the West for provoking the conflict and imposing sanctions on Russia, its close ally and partner. The 12-point peace plan calls for respecting the sovereignty of all countries, abandoning the Cold War mentality, ceasing hostilities, resuming peace talks, resolving the humanitarian crisis, protecting civilians and prisoners of war, keeping nuclear power plants safe, reducing strategic risks, facilitating grain exports, stopping unilateral sanctions, keeping industrial and supply chains stable, and promoting post-conflict reconstruction. However, the plan has been criticized by many as vague, ambiguous, and biased towards Russia. It does not address the core issues of the war, such as Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and its violation of Ukraine's territorial integrity. It also does not offer any concrete steps or mechanisms to implement the proposal or to hold Russia accountable for its aggression. Moreover, it contradicts China's claim to neutrality, as it has provided non-lethal assistance to Russia and has reportedly considered supplying lethal weapons to Moscow. Therefore, China's peace plan is seen by many as an attempt at public relations and a way to avoid taking sides in the war. China's main interest is to maintain stability and avoid a nuclear war that could threaten its own security and development. China also wants to protect its economic interests in both Ukraine and Russia, especially in the fields of energy and agriculture. China does not want to alienate either side or to be isolated by the international community. In conclusion, China's peace plan is unlikely to have any significant impact on the war or to bring about a lasting solution. China's role as a mediator is limited by its own interests and its reluctance to challenge Russia. China's proposal is mainly a reflection of its own position and perspective on the war, rather than a genuine attempt to end it. China has faced pressure from the US and its allies over its close partnership with Russia, which some fear could help Russia's war effort in Ukraine. China has denied providing any lethal support to Russia, but has also opposed the use of unilateral sanctions and called for respect for sovereignty and national security interests. China's position on the Ukraine war is complex and nuanced. On one hand, China has a strategic partnership with Russia, which is its largest trading partner and a key source of energy and military technology. China also shares Russia's distrust of the US-led world order and its desire to uphold the principle of non-interference in other countries' affairs. On the other hand, China has interests in maintaining stability and cooperation in Europe, which is also an important market and source of investment for China. China also values its relations with Ukraine, which is a participant in China's Belt and Road Initiative and a potential supplier of agricultural products. China does not want to see a further escalation of the conflict or a humanitarian crisis in Ukraine. Therefore, China has tried to balance its ties with both sides and play a constructive role in promoting dialogue and peace. China has launched a diplomatic charm offensive in Europe, visiting countries that are less hostile to Russia and offering its own solution to the war. China has also engaged with other regions, such as Southeast Asia, Africa and South America, to present itself as a global peacemaker and an alternative to the US-led world order. However, China's efforts have not been very effective or well received by the international community. Many Western countries see China as an enabler of Russia's aggression and a violator of international norms and human rights. Some also accuse China of secretly supplying Russia with weapons and technology that could be used for military purposes. China's proposal for resolving the war has been dismissed as vague and unrealistic by many experts and observers. China's dilemma in the Ukraine war reflects its broader challenge of navigating a complex and changing global environment, where it faces increasing competition and confrontation with the US and its allies. China has to balance its interests and values with its obligations and responsibilities as a major power. China also has to learn from Russia's missteps in Ukraine and avoid provoking similar reactions from its neighbors and rivals. China has its own economic and strategic interests in the region, such as maintaining its trade with Russia, which hit a record high level of $190 billion in 2022. China and Russia have been close partners for decades, especially in the fields of energy, defense, and technology. China relies on Russia for oil and gas supplies, as well as advanced weapons and military equipment. Russia also benefits from China's huge market and investment opportunities. But China's interests in Ukraine are not limited to its relationship with Russia. China has also developed a strong economic and strategic relationship with Ukraine over the years, based on its location, natural resources, and free trade deal with the European Union. Ukraine is a major supplier of agricultural products and minerals to China, such as corn, barley, iron ore, and sunflower oil. China is also a major buyer of Ukrainian arms, and even purchased a Soviet aircraft carrier from Ukraine in 1998. China has also invested heavily in Ukraine's infrastructure and energy sectors, as part of its Belt and Road Initiative. China has built ports, railways, roads, subway lines, wind farms, solar power plants, and oil and gas projects in Ukraine. China sees Ukraine as an important transit point for its goods to Europe, especially as the EU has become more wary of trade relations with China. Therefore, China has a lot at stake in the region, and does not want to see a war between Russia and Ukraine that could disrupt its economic interests and strategic plans. China has expressed concern about the worsening situation in Ukraine and called for all parties to show restraint and resolve differences through dialogue. China has also tried to balance its relations with both sides, avoiding taking a clear stance on the conflict or joining any sanctions against Russia.